All right, back to the agenda. Does anyone want to follow up on any old business that they feel is not finished or have questions about something that we may have not discussed in a while? Because that's always an opportunity for anyone to ask, and we can follow up on, independently. If you have anything you want to ask about.
I got one quick question. So, well, I think Bob Anderson's runoff to the Grand Canal might help the water flow. I'm kidding, but my real question is this. With that $1 million grant at the roundabout, I see having the signs at the bridges in 41 that can, with today's technology, wirelessly say public parking is at full capacity. That when the sheriff did that one holiday, my staff was able to drive around the key like a normal busy day. Right now, when we're full, like last week, my staff couldn't even service the properties. We're stuck. So without having a sign at 41 of those bridges, I don't see how we can ever even think about doing anything here, like living. Like, it's horrible.
So one of the requests might be to see what kind of funding there might be to have something that's really dedicated to Siesta Key for notifications to people, either digitally so they don't come all the way to Siesta Key and can't get there, or even once they get there to be noticed about any troubles so they can move another direction, that sounds like.
Well, isn't that what the $1 million is for, is to help traffic flow? I mean, it's not all Spencer's money, it's public funding. So if he wants to do a roundabout, I'm not saying I'm against that. I'm just saying we need to look at a sign, put it this way, a sign on 41 and at both bridges would do more for traffic control than 100 roundabouts. So
because people wouldn't use it. Yes, that's true. They would know what to do. That's a great idea, and that's a question we will follow up on, Michael. I will do that. I have it written down here.
It'd be neat.
Because I'm not sure the $1 million is, I think it's part of the money that they gave after the River Road exchange, but
yes.
It's not all $1 million just for the roundabout. I think that's about $350,000, and it is going towards the improvements, I think, on the north end as well.
Well, so maybe they should have a roundabout right there coming off the bridge instead, off the Stickney Point Bridge, with a sign that says public parking full, so people can go around the roundabout and go right back to 41.
Just get out quick, right?
Yeah.
That's another good location. Super idea. I've got it written down about that signage and the alerts. I think that would make a huge difference.
Thank you so much, because it is literally, I mean, you all know, but it's literally impossible. My staff cannot even service the guests.
That's a good one. And you've got a lot of comments that came up as you asked that question, so a lot of people are happy to hear some questions about that. So thank you all for giving me the information that you like that. That's super. Anybody else have another issue or comment before we need to go on to any new business? That's the next thing.
Just on that traffic circle, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that I took the survey online asking for all of your input on that. And then the next thing I saw was the approval, and it's moving ahead, but I did not see any results. What happened there?
It was published. I believe it was published in the Sarasota News Leader. And we may even have a PDF of some of that information on our website about that project. What happened with the questionnaires, there was some errors, I believe, when they formatted the questionnaire, because they asked questions that about a third option, meaning no change at all. And the truth was they were always going to do something, one way or the other. There was not really a no change option. So a lot of people voted for the no change, meaning they just wanted to keep a traffic light there. Not that they didn't want it better, but it actually skewed the results, so it broke them up. And if you had added the no change to a more standardized choice, you would have had about 67% of people asking for other than the roundabout. If that makes sense to you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We talked about that with the commission. We did. But thank you. They're determined. We'll see what happens. Anybody
Catherine,
else? Yes.
sign, on that sign at the front for the entrance of Siesta Key on the south, when they had that, I believe that the commissioners were the ones that said they didn't want that anymore.
They didn't want a digital sign?
They did not want the digital sign.
Oh, did they say why? I don't remember that.
I don't know if it was because Benderson didn't want it on his property, but they didn't want the digital sign there.
Well, there's nothing happening right now. Maybe we could request that in the meantime. I have no progress reports that that project is going forward very quickly. So because of infrastructure issues. So maybe we should ask if they would mind having something there in the meantime. That's thank you for telling me that.
Can I get in here a minute? Can you hear me?
Question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have been trying to get at Stickney Point and the trail. I've been trying to get with the design department to redo that thing with the idea that think more than 30 days in advance, to think down the road about these digital signs, so that if we get to the point where we get a parking lot where we can park some of these people down the road, we can say the lot's full there, we can send them down the road, do a lot of things. I'm just having, like I did with the other thing, I'm having a problem getting anybody to return contacts, and I'm supposed to be getting from the design department something, and nothing. I don't know if it's the holidays or what, but I'm still trying to get some thing to talk to them about this, because this thing starts clear back. People don't realize it starts back at Stickney Point and it affects the whole island. And
yes, I agree. And I think if we could get something even temporarily, it would be a great help right now. It's going to only get more so very soon. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thank you.
okay.
Anybody else? There's a question.
Catherine, can you
Yeah.
hear me? This is Bernie Hoyt.
Hi.
I've been involved with the parking spaces on Ocean on the north end of Siesta Key. When you enter, it's across from Salty Dog, the 20 spaces. They're going to spend $250,000 to tear out the parkway and paint stripes. That's $11,000 a space. Pricey for painted stripes on asphalt. I'm really stymied. If anyone has any ideas, we've gone before the commission in person. We've sent letters. We're going to talk to Mr. Ziegler again, but it's beating our head against the wall. And does anyone have better ideas about how to work with the commission in finding parking, changing this terrible idea of tearing out the parkway on Ocean?
Yeah, right.
And
We might, yeah, no, my husband was interested in invading the commissioner's building, but I think that's probably not possible.
I'll do it.
Anyway, I think that, yeah, it's frustrating because I think we've all written, and actually I've written directly to the county engineer about this. Two things I want to tell you, that if they are in fact determined, there's some tricky things that we might think about. And that is that some time ago, the code people changed, because they wanted to try to help people get out of this thing. They had to have a full car space if they really didn't need it. They said, okay, how about does 5 bicycles in a rack equal a car space? And they've done that. And they did it at Gidget's in the village, so that Gidget's could still improve their spot and have their store, but not have a mandate to have all these parking spaces. So since they have a category for 5 bikes equals 1 space, one of my ideas has been to say, instead of carving out these huge spaces and taking away the depth that protects us from the traffic to the sidewalk and changes the beauty of the walk area, why not make a couple of nice bicycle spots for people that equals 2 car spaces if you have 2 racks like that. Maybe what we're trying to do is encourage people to pedal more anyway, walk more anyway. And the second idea was that we are seeing a lot more golf carts and people that are having low speed vehicles that don't take up full parking spaces. And if the idea is to get people to the village, to keep them out of the traffic, again, make smaller spaces for electric vehicles, things that don't take up the same amount of room. You could get spaces, smaller spaces in a smaller area to be equivalent to a full car space, and you wouldn't have to have 20 full car spaces, if you understand what I'm saying.
I do, and they'll see that as a wonderful opportunity to make 40 spaces instead of 20, because they'll get
Oh
twice.
gosh, I hope not. But we are going that direction, and I wanted you to know I brought it up to a chamber gathering meeting where we were talking, because they want room for people, and I understand that, but they do want this as well, which was interesting. I'm not sure our commissioners know this, so I'm going to hope to pass that by them and say, look, can't we have both the safety of a wide walkable area that people bike and walk in, as well as spaces, but they don't have to be full-size car spaces to equal the car. And
Hey,
maybe there's a
Catherine.
win-win.
Hey, Catherine, I love that idea. We're getting so many guests now that, they come in by Uber or whatnot, and then they'll rent a golf cart or they'll ride a bikes,
Right.
So if we could have that, it'd be amazing. And because my problem with more vehicular parking spaces, the spaces we have today are not managed, meaning we have day visitors from the city and off the key that park in the village and take up the parking spaces all day for the merchants, and then there's no parking for the restaurants and the residents and other people, because the beach goers are stealing them. So they're not managing what they have. Why do they feel the right to just add more parking spaces instead of managing the parking spaces they have?
And I think there are newer ways, given what we're trying to accomplish with a more walkable community that's safer. So I've posed that idea, and the few chamber people that I've spoken to, including the current president, is all for that. So maybe if we have another voice chiming in, it could help us petition them. That it's worth a try, and I'm willing to push that and ask further about it. And I see everybody's all for that too, in terms of how we use the village anyway.
And
So
it's important
that's all I can tell you about it. I'm going to still go to bat for it. Just so
it is important to remember that the vehicular lanes that go through the village are actually bicycle lanes as well.
Yeah, there are some, but not much. Anyway, but thanks, Mike. Anybody else have other comments or questions to follow up with? Well then, yes, Bob.
I'd probably be remiss if I didn't say something about Big Pass. As you'll remember, on November the 18th, we had our oral arguments in front of the Court of Appeals in Tampa, and we still await a decision. So I have no idea when they're going to write something, but we look every day. The other thing is that the second phase of that project, which is to build 2 groins on South Lido, we raised a lot of questions about how they're going to do it and how they're going to bring these 1-ton granite blocks in and the 10-ton mattresses they sit on. And we talked to the sheriff and the police department and the parks people, and we can't get anybody to do anything unless they say it's illegal. And so I just want to give people a warning that they're about to start hauling in between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. About 100 1-ton granite blocks and about 20 10-ton concrete mattresses, and then dig a hole on 2 places on the beach near the park and bury them there. So, and 200 feet out into the water. So I think the most disturbing piece to the beachgoers is about to happen.
We do need, there was supposed to be notification for people, and that's called a traffic planning, a traffic plan, which we've never seen yet for them. And it is required that they produce one. We're still asking, so just so you know.
Well, incredibly, the FDEP said those are local issues. We don't get involved in that.
Yeah, local permits. So if anyone has some pull with people that do want to receive a traffic plan for all of that coming on Lido from the mainland all the way down to Ted Sperling Park, let us know a contact. And that's all we can say. That's it. Anybody else have comments or questions? Then I will call our meeting adjourned until next month, and I am hopeful that we might be able to have a meeting with safe spacing, because the Episcopal Church is now doing that for their services. So they have felt that it's working for them. I spoke with them yesterday, and we will see how all the numbers are running, and hopefully we can see each other again the next month. Thank you all for coming.